I'm sure everyone watching this video knows how career mode works. You pick the team, you sign the players, and you play the matches. But what if I told you there's actually a bunch of different ways to play this game mode where you can totally change how it works? Today, we'll be looking at how to play career mode as a director of football, a head coach, a player manager, and more. That's right, we'll be playing manager mode while not actually being a manager. Believe it or not, you can actually almost simulate everything about being a director of football. Rather than managing the games yourself, you can just focus on buying players, developing an academy, and managing finances while leaving tactics and gameplay to somebody else. It's a great way to see how good you are at actually signing players. In older FIFAs, there was actually no way of playing AI versus AI matches. However, both FIFA 23 and FC 24 are different. You might have seen one of this year's new features was tactical view, but honestly, it's not actually worth using. The old bugged way to do AI versus AI games is actually better, and that's mainly because teams will actually play on the right difficulty. You might be wondering, why shouldn't you just use tactical view? Well, from my experiences and from what people have said on FIFA Careers, the subreddit, it seems like when you use tactical view, their opposition sometimes gets stuck on amateur difficulty. The team that you're actually watching will still be on your regular difficulty, and this means that your team will win by 5 or more goals in some games, which totally can kill the fun of using it. The old way is actually much better, and I'm not sure if it was a bug, it definitely wasn't an intentional feature. We can actually watch AI versus AI games with the right difficulty just like you can on Football Manager. This is all thanks to a Reddit user called OKCWorthiness5904 who posted a tutorial how to do this all the way back on FIFA 22, and it still fully works now. It's done by locking your cursor to a player in the menu just before you go into a game. As long as this player isn't on the pitch, the game will just play by itself. You can either do this by substituting your player off instantly, or selecting a team sheet before kickoff that doesn't have the player you've locked in as. As soon as the game starts, you'll be given the option to watch the rest of the match. Sure, it can waste a substitution or be a bit annoying to set up before every single game, but now you can actually play this simplified version of Football Manager with much better graphics just by using this one bug. Anyway, as a director of football, you need to fully focus on setting up your team behind the scenes. You can see how good your tactics get on in game. In fact, it's a really good way to learn how tactics work, but it's even better for finding out how good you are at signing players. One of the biggest tasks a director of football needs to do is pick the right manager, and this is something else you can also kind of simulate inside FIFA. If you're on PC, you can do things like change your manager's face and name with Cheat Engine, but if you're not feeling that or you're on console, you can still get accurate tactics by cloning team sheets. If you want to hire Klopp in your team, just copy the Liverpool's team sheet. If you prefer someone like Ancelotti, copy Madrid. This actually lets you use managers you can't even normally play as, people like Mourinho or basically anyone from the Bundesliga. You can just copy their team sheets. It's a totally different way of playing the game, but it's one that I've really enjoyed doing, and I have uploaded a few series about it on this channel. I totally get it though if you'd actually prefer to play as your team. If you feel transfers are either a bit boring or maybe too unrealistic, then being a head coach might be better for you. It'll only be a small change compared to being a manager, but you're focused on improving players rather than actually negotiating with them. The whole negotiation system is actually pretty good now, and it is fairly challenging to get a player significantly under their value, but it is still quite rare that a manager will go on to negotiate a deal all by themselves. Instead, in real life for the majority of transfers, I think it makes more sense for the manager to send the director of football or head scout off to negotiate the deals. If you want to try and keep your transfers even more realistic, I would suggest you only sign players that you actually find in your scouting list. You can of course pick the nations to send your scouts out to, but I'd definitely avoid using the transfer hub to search out players or free agents at other clubs. Going back to delegating the signings, this is actually so easy to do. Instead of pressing negotiate right here, instead just press delegate. You can still give the values you think a player will cost, but delegating helps with realism in a few different ways. The first way is the amount of time that it takes to sign a player. So with a normal transfer inside career mode, you can begin to sign a player on the day of a match, and you can fully finish signing them with them in your squad ready for the match on the same day. Delegate works a little bit differently. Instead, the director of football will take a few days to get back to you with transfer fee, and then a few more days with the wage, and at this point you can accept or reject. This means that it can take about 10 days to actually sign a player, which is a lot more like what you'll see in real life. The second way that it's better is that there's a real chance that the transfer talks will actually break down. This means that you'll have to move on to your second or third choice player in this position. It makes scouting way more important, and it also makes the squad planning part of career mode a lot more hardcore. If you actually do like playing regular career mode, but also want the vibe of player career inside your career mode save, then you should definitely try to be a player manager. This actually used to be a mode in some of the older FIFA games where you could take control of a single player on the pitch, but still be a regular manager off it. We can still do exactly this inside career mode thanks to lock to player, so FC24 technically does have this feature. Every time you want to move club, just make sure you buy the player that you're using at your new team. This can lead to some really cool situations where you have to keep moving around because your player's at the wrong level. They could be getting too good or they could be getting too old, meaning you have to keep stepping back deeper and deeper into the leagues. It could be a cool way to use an older player who's dropped down a level. I think Busquets starting his managerial career at Inter Miami is a pretty cool idea, and that should be a really fun save, especially after he retires, because you'll still be in manager mode and you can keep the save going on for as long as you want. If none of these other ideas work for you, then you might want the final and probably hardest idea I've ever come up with, which is to be the out of control caretaker manager. Caretaker managers are usually appointed when teams can't find a good enough manager for their next fixture, so the trust between the manager and the directors on the board isn't quite there. This means that you can put some massive restrictions on how we play. If you want to make things really hard, then we can make it so that you can never offer new contracts and basically never sign any players yourself. You can leave everything up to the game and let it decide which players are going to join your team. You can do this by never offering new contracts, and as soon as your players expire, the board will either choose to renew the ones who haven't agreed a move, or if they've agreed to join another club, they will replace this player with someone else of a similar rating. This is the only way that anyone new will be able to join your club. Because I'm going to also suggest that you limit yourself to no academy, no transfer signings, and even delegating your tactics and formation to something like ChatGPT or a randomizer. This will give you one of the hardest and most out of control saves that is possible inside career mode. All you'll do is play the games on the pitch. You'll try to perform as well as possible, of course, and you'll be totally out of control of what happens off the pitch. Maybe if you do well, you can move on to become one of the other types of manager that we've mentioned in today's video. It's definitely happened in real life, because Roberto Di Matteo won the Champions League with Chelsea as a caretaker manager, and he was appointed as a full-time manager as a reward. Of course, you could just play manager mode how it was intended by being a regular manager. If you ever get bored of that, come back to this video and give one of these other ideas a go, because they can make career mode really fun. All these little restrictions and just using features how they weren't intended really can spice things up and make career mode a lot more enjoyable. My Director of Football series I did on this channel last year was one of my favourite ones that I've ever done, taking control of designing kits and signing players and changing the manager's face and things like that, rather than actually playing the matches. It was really good and I recommend you give it a go. But anyway, thanks for watching, and check out the video and playlist that's on screen right now. Thank you to all my channel members, and you can support the channel by clicking the join button next to subscribe if you'd like to become one of them. But anyway, thank you for watching, subscribe, and goodbye.